Hey, what's up YouTube? So this will be episode 5, and this is going to be talking about the Keith Zabo original Mustang. So anybody that knows Keith Zabo, unfortunately he passed away in the last couple years. He was an awesome drag racer. Now him and his dad Roger, I got the honor of meeting both of them years ago when Russ and I went and picked up his original Mustang. It's a 1982 Mustang, and he'd had this thing, I think, since new or something like that. The story goes, I think his dad bought it or something, and they had it, drove it as a daily driver, turned it into a race car. This car was awesome. Keith took this car and went out and was very successful with it. The only reason he sold it, he actually got a different car at the time, and I'll throw it in as the first video here. He was at Rockingham with it. They were testing it not long after we bought the silver car, the 82. And this car was white. I think this is the car that ended up getting painted silver to kind of be a tribute to his original car. I think this is the same car if I'm not mistaken, but it's been so many years ago. But either way, Keith went on to dominate drag radio racing and all that. He set so many records, big block Ford with twin turbos. It was ridiculous, and he was really good on the tree. He could win a bunch of races. But anyway, hope you enjoyed the video. Again, the first video here is going to show you Keith's car he got after we got the silver one.
How was ET? Was it good? 45. Making the track's going away.
But going back to this car, this is the car they started with. And they had the car set up. It was a ladder bar car. It hooked and ran really well. But when we first got the car, Keith had been running 29 10.5 tires on it. And we got it and we took it out to run 28 stuff because that's what our classes were.
Battery lights flashing. Yeah.
Try to move the seat and all tomorrow night if you want.
Okay.
Over time, we started out, we got it as a roller. So we actually had a motor we put in it. It was a 351 stroker motor. I don't remember the cubic inches. It was close to 400 cubic inches. We had 2-stage of nitrous on it, had a plate system that I'd have the car leave on first, and then a fogger system I'd bring in about a second to a second and a half later, depending on the track. Sweet spot was like 1.2 seconds. But on the plate kit, we'd normally run about a 300 shot, and then we'd bring in another 200 on the fogger. They got to think, back in the day, we had a power glide converter, we had an MSD7, we didn't have any fancy traction control or anything like that. We had a carburetor, 2 kits of nitrous, a power glide, and then we'd have gear set up for whatever we were running. Typically we had like a 370 gear and it had a Ford 9-inch. And the car worked really well.
You're famous, man. I'll get some money out of this video in about 3-4 years. The beginning.
that race. We ended up going out first round. We had an issue where he wasn't quite used to the shifter in his car, so he did his burnout, pulled up, backed up, pulled it down into gear, and you see the car leave. The car leaves really hard, and all of a sudden he lets off a little over half track, and he came back. I asked him what happened. He said he went to shift it, it was already in high gear. So he actually left in high gear, and the car just crazy reacted. I mean, he left in high gear on a power glide, and it hooked and went, you know, because we had the nitrous on it. But that was on a 28, that thing wouldn't have worked. Now, it took off with the guy he was beside. Anyway, you'll get a couple of chuckles out of that. You see how hard the car leaves, you're like, damn, the guys know what they're doing. It kind of bit us a little bit. We weren't used to running wheelie bars on this car. So when we first got it, I didn't change the wheelie bar setting. We went down to an NMRA race in Florida, took the car out, ran Street Outlaw with it at the time. And Russ, he, again, just getting used to the car on 28s. When we had lowered it down on 28s, just the way the body sat down on the smaller tire, the wheelie bars were closer, and I didn't realize it. And when we got the car to leave, it would actually kick the tires and smoke the tires really bad. And it took me a few times going to the track with the car to understand what the car wanted. I had to raise the wheelie bars up, and I could get the car to work better on 28s. Ultimately, the car ran 540s on 28s. Not after a little while. You know, we came out, we ran high fives with the car, and we ended up switching to a big block motor later, and I'll talk about that, how we got the motor and all this, but it ended up being a 632 big block that we ran in the car. We ended up going 520s with this car. Unfortunately, I can't find the video of that pass. It was like a 525 at like almost 140 miles an hour. This car was rolling. I mean, it was there. It's kind of like all the other combinations we ran with that small motor and two-stage nitrous, but this car just worked so much better. I mean, you could tell it was a purpose-built car, the way it had been set up. Everything else we had was pretty much a street car with some street-style suspension. This is the first car we raced that had ladder bars on it.
Russ Richardson to our side. See, that's his new machine. Going to be taking on Jeff Wright in the outside lane out of Greensville, North Carolina, the Mustang, the Freedom Bell Bonding. Jeff actually sponsored a weightlifting contest out here last year. Got our mic there. Outside lane has to back her down. You got a little bit out of the groove. Backing her to a 658, 90 miles.
stop and get this after we pass our pit. Who's your daddy?
I'm saying, oh.
Who's your daddy?
Moment of silence.
But once I got used to having to set up the car for us and how he drove, man, we got this car to be dominant. We actually won, if I'm not mistaken, it was in 2001 or 2002, we won the championship for the racing that we were in. It's small tire racing, 28.5. I think the minimum weight was 3 or 3,200 pounds. 3,200 for big block, I think, 3,000 for small block. But either way, that year we went out, we won the points championship with the car. Him and I, no sponsors, you know, went out, took this car and won at a bunch of races. So it was a really cool experience to take this car. We took this car all over. We went to Virginia Motorsports Park with it. We went to Shadyside with it, Rockingham, Fayetteville, Brewers. I mean, we went to all the tracks you could think of back then that were running a 28 style or 29 style tire. The best we ever got it to leave was actually on 29s. We ended up putting 29s back on at one point, went out, made some passes, and that car just went to work. With today's technology and the way the car is working by doing nitrous, if we had all the traction control and all the fancy stuff people have now, there's no reason we couldn't have been in the fours of this car years ago. But again, limited at the time by technology, limited at the time by the weight we had to carry. 520s was rolling, and consistently we could go 530s. Pretty much any track we went to, 530s was the norm, and that wasn't even leaning on the car that hard. But it was a super cool car. After we won the race championship, we kind of fell apart for the R&R racing scene. I went back to doing street car stuff, and he got a different job, so we didn't stay in contact much after this particular car. But I know he had the car for years. I think he eventually sold it. Maybe he can chime in here in the comments and let us know an update on it. But the car was really awesome. I really enjoyed working with this car. Out of all the cars we worked on, this is probably one of my favorites, other than the yellow car, you know, like it killed me, but I still love that car. This car just had a lot of history to it. And when Keith passed, I reached out to his family, told him I was really sorry about everything. And, you know, it was a tough situation. Anyway, hope you enjoy this series. it's been a good run showing you some of these old videos. But I really like this particular car, so I hope you enjoy.